Hello, I'm Caroline of Movement Style. The video that follows is of a personal training session with a client who's in the early stages of recovery following a hip replacement operation. At the time of the video, Joss, the client, is 6 weeks post-surgery. He's had clearance from both his surgeon and his physiotherapist to go back to certain types of exercise again and certain types of movements. So please make sure, if you are post-hip replacement surgery yourself and you're deciding to follow along with this video, that you too have had medical clearance for taking up exercise again. Joss was a complete beginner at yoga and a complete beginner at Pilates at the time of this video. So all of the movements that we're working with are basic, simple movements derived from yoga and from Pilates. Also, as part of the program, I sought to find movements and exercises that would complement the routine that he'd been given by his physiotherapist to aid his recovery as well. And so this is what you see in the video that follows after this introduction. I hope that you'll find the video helpful and useful and also enjoyable. Let's have a look at alignment. So we start off as we need to get the bone structure to align right from the feet coming up. So it's that 2 foot distance between the heels so that your legs are in line with the hip joints. And then thinking about balancing the weight out through the soles of the feet. So it's centre of the heel, ball of the foot, pad of the little toe. And it's often tension inside the foot between all those little bones and muscles and stuff. So from the inside shape of the foot, you just try to relax into that centre of the heel, ball of the foot, pad of the little toe, evenness. That's it, yeah. And then you try to check in with that regularly because it helps us to know whether the spine's aligned or not. But from there, let's come into the spine a little bit, and if we let the mind's eye travel into the tailbone region, and just 3 or 4 exhalations, just imagining that the tailbone's going to grow heavy, and just sinking downwards to between the heels. As the tailbone drops downwards a little bit, the muscles in the back of the waist should lengthen out a little, open a little, and then that enables the spine to lift upwards, so from between the tailbone into the, and you're just letting the crown of the head release upwards, bringing it straight off the tailbone and releasing it upwards. That's it. And then...
So I can feel that in my glutes, yes, and across the front of here.
That it's lengthening through the front of it. Yes.
Yeah, it feels very stiff for me, but yes.
Yeah, skeletal muscles probably do kick in a little bit. Just thinking as you're bringing the head back, if you just let the knees bend for a moment and just think about crests of the hip bones directly forwards, tailbone moving down, back of hips, back of shoulders, back of head level. So the breastbone can move back towards the spine and the spine towards the breastbone, yeah. And then if you just think about the ribs funneling in towards the spine at the base of the rib cage, drawing up through the front and back of the thighs and the gluteal muscles to let the knees straighten again. So not too much power, that's it. Good. So then from there, let's with an inhalation release your right arm out towards the side, flowing it up. So as you're breathing in, you try to get the breath to really open spaces between the ribs, and we just bring it all the way up, if that feels all right. And then breathing out to come back down. And then we'll swap sides. So breathing in, letting the shoulder sink, the arm sink downwards in the shoulder joint. Collarbone really widening and opening. Shoulder blade keeps anchoring itself in towards the spine and keeping moving a little bit downwards. That's it. And then out breath to come back. So the idea with the arm releasing out and up is that the breath will deepen, the muscles over the spine will open, and the spine at the side can lengthen. So you try to just, breathing out again to release. When the arm works quite hard from here, it's difficult to get it to rise easily because it's got so many attachments into the chest. So it really the arm needs to move from the collarbone opening so the arm really starts here like a stick person, lengthening through this part, and keep your shoulder blade anchoring towards the spine. Yeah. And then breathing out to come back in. So the muscles that hold the shoulder blades wide in the back of the chest, not out to the sides, but wide but settled into the back of the chest and a bit down, are right here, the rhomboids. And if that muscle keeps working as the arm lifts, as the arm goes up, the shoulder blade will tend to stretch away. So if you keep working between the shoulder blades, keeping the shoulder blade, contracting these muscles to keep the shoulder blade in place, that will also keep it down, because that's where the muscle is here. So it's good. I'm going to work to maintain the shoulder blade really down, and then through like that, yes. And then you keep lengthening, the arm should release up and the shoulder blade should counterweight, yes. And releasing. So it's sort of strange, we get so much tension in this part because we're always from about the age of 5. Yeah. And then the spine opening as we open the ribs right from the tailbone to the crown, tailbone sinks, crown lifts, good. And then releasing down. And then let's give it one more shot at this on the other side. So from the collarbone, shoulder blade anchoring, inhalation, releasing the spaces through the ribs, holding the spine free. Good. Releasing back down, yeah, and then just relaxing there, that's it. So from there, what I thought was that we will come into the double arm raise, but let's practice the rises. So you've got this idea that the tailbone moves down, crown of the head moves up, and with the heel rise, because it's a balance, each part of the body is going to carry itself. So the ribs really squeeze in towards the spine. So the ribs squeeze in at the sides and the back. They will at the front as well, but so here, but at the sides and at the back, which is part of the core strength. And then the waist squeezes in at the back and the sides. You keep anchoring the ribs and the pelvis towards one another. Pelvic diamond, pull up in the bottom, front and back supplies. Yes, good. And then coming back. So it's as if, often when I'm teaching this, I suggest that people let their feet stay passive. And then that you try to get everything to lift away from your feet. And it's almost when everything else is lifting, the feet follow. That's it. So ribs lift away from the waist, waist lifts away from the hips, hips lift away from the thighs, thighs lift away from the knees, knees lift away from the calves, calves lift away from the ankles, ankles lift away from the feet, feet follow. Yes. How's that?
Yes.
Do you feel it getting into the glutes area?
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
And in here.
Yes, I think it will. And give it one more go in that way. Because it's quite hard being on that mat. No, it's fine. But it does give you an extra challenge when you're standing on a soft mat like that. Yes, good. And breastbone keeps lengthening downwards. That's it. So you keep the ribs and the pelvis really travelling on the same line. Because very quickly, because the ribs and the pelvis are heavy, they can tip away from each other forwards or backwards. So you have to keep really drawing them towards each other to be able to maintain the length. Spine keeps lengthening independently through the centre, which is why we need to avoid too much the hips narrowing or the ribs narrowing. The spine is good start. And then the crown lifts and the ribs pull up, that's it. And keep drawing ribs and pelvis together, that's it. Lower abs work, bottom, like a shelf of support. Good. Yes, good. Coming back down. Now you might think you've got enough to think about there.
Yeah.
But in point of fact, although the front and the backs of the legs pull up, the inside leg needs to lengthen downwards from the inside of the hip towards the heel, which tends to stimulate your leg stabilizer muscles, which is probably something that you're wanting to do at the moment. So you can give it a try like that. See how it goes. Unless you know there's too many things to think about. Good, yeah. Does it make sense?
It does.
Like that?
Yeah.
Yes. So it's a funny thing, but in all of these movements you've got gravity and levity working. Different areas of the body are working with levity and others are working with gravity. Yeah. Mm.
Actually gives you more support.
Yes, exactly. Your leg stabilizers kicking in.
Yeah.
And you begin to, when you start to get really used to it, you begin to be able to understand how you can then do things more on one leg. And
Yes, yes.
now, I don't know if you feel like giving it a go with the arms rising or if that's too many things.
Yeah.
Alright, so with that, it tends to be difficult in part because the mind will go straight to the nerve endings, straight to the feet, straight to the hands.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas we need to come from the trunk, from the spine and then into the lower abdomen, gluteal muscles. Try to be really tall. And then the rise coming through, and then little by little as you're rising, let the arms flow through. Yeah. And still try to keep the shoulder blades sinking if you can. And then again, as you're ready, coming down, bottom keeps pulling up really firmly so that you can come down with control. Good, that was very good.
I remember the shoulder blades.
That's good. Give it another couple of goes if you feel up to it. Just keep the ribs funneling in towards the spine. Good. That's it. I'll give it one last one. Tailbone pulling down, crown of the head moving up. And then ribs keep narrowing in sides and back. Strength at the back of the waist, strength at the back of the ribs, shoulder blades moving down the back. That's it. And releasing away. Good. Well done. Yes, that was very good actually.
Well, there's lots more going on than just...
Yes,
raising.
yes, there is. And also, I mean, I'm a big believer in that quality of movement has to come from, because at the base of the spine, gravity obviously hits us quite hard into the heavy weight of the pelvis, and the pelvis begins to narrow in quite a bit, and there's very little release there. And if you want to find quality of movement, you actually have to coordinate the legs and the pelvis right, keep the spine really long, and then your hip moving separately. That there's always this, although everything's obviously integrated, that there should be an independence between the spine, the legs, and the arms. You know, that nothing, that things don't really move in one lump.
Yes.
You know, that's how it's.
Yeah.
All right. So now then, we were going to have a look at your plie squat.
Yes.
I think your exercise was really tall through the spine, coming into your plie, and then squeezing back up. Yeah. So let the head stay back above the tailbone, and we thought about the movement initiating from the hip joints. So the knees quickly start to move, but we try to keep the energy of the movement travelling from the hip joints, not going into the knees.
Don't bend your knees, sort of drive it from the hips.
So
not so much drive it, but press
lead from it. Yeah. So in the last exercise where you had that sense of lengthening from the insides of the hip joints down into the heels, this is really similar. You keep lengthening from the insides of the hip joints towards the knees, and the action, the contraction of the movement comes in the hamstrings.
Yeah.
And you try to keep the weight as even as you can through the soles of the feet. And then squeezing back up, the way I work with these kinds of positions is ribs squeeze in at the sides and the back, at the front as well. The waist squeezes in, backside front, your 360 degrees of strength each degree pulling in, lower abs engage bottom. and then you'd be ready for a rise. You don't have to do the rise, but that you're coming in, leading from the insides of the hip joints, back really tall, squeeze through your ribs, waist, lower abs, bottom, front and back of thighs.
So much going on down the inside, because lots of the work has been seemingly building up the strength of the outside of the glutes, but actually lots of this is, it's almost uncomfortable in the middle.
Yes, well,
but it's not. It's just
overdoing it.
No, but it's clearly not. It hasn't been worked much in over the last few weeks. But that's why it's not hurting, but it's definitely.
Yeah, I think a lot. I think a lot of people. So many people struggle with this whole concept. Actually, I think a lot of people have just stopped leading from here in their movements. So you keep leading from the hip, and the weight stays even through the feet, which is as well something to do with your back. And as you come out, the gluteal muscles should work quite hard. But each part of the body is trying to support itself out of the movement. So as you go in, although the tailbone travels downwards, each other vertebra in the spine needs to move upwards. Yeah. And then as you come back up, again, lead through your crown, ribs, waist, pelvis, and that's it. Yes, that's it. So tailbone is moving downwards, but the whole of the rest of the spine lifts up directly from above the tailbone. Keep lengthening it upwards, leading through the hip, and then once again, as you're ready, ribs, waist, pelvis, glutes, front and back of thighs. Yes.
Yeah, those last two are better.
Yes, definitely. You can always have that idea of your back travelling up and down against a wall behind you. Back of hips, back of shoulders, back of head touching the wall. It's a theory, but it doesn't always work in reality. Ribs, waist, yeah.
Yeah.
Is that all right?
Yeah. There's lots happening there, which, as I say, there's lots of emphasis on.
Yes.
Because that's where the wound is. So
yes.
you imagine that there's lots of emphasis there, but actually there's lots of other bits you need to build up.
Yes, as well. Which is tricky because you're not supposed to do these movements coming across, but then I think these because these are working at the inner thigh muscles as stabilizers for the alignment, so obviously they are working, but without crossing. So then the idea was to come into that back squatting position, so the Utkatasana. And that's again where we need to keep the ribs and the pelvis travelling with one another along the line of the spine. And so the spine essentially is...
By the way, do you want to